So we're going to finish up chapter 2 with rational numbers. It's 2.7, and I want to go over the definition. And a rational number is a number that can be written as a fraction. So here we have a fraction, but notice what else we have is these integers and whole numbers and mixed numbers and decimals. All of these are considered rational numbers because how could I make this negative 12 look like a fraction? Put it over 1. Again, how can I make this whole number look like a fraction? Put it over 1. But within there, we have a smaller set of integers, so which consists of our positive and negative numbers. And then we have a little smaller subset of just our whole numbers, our 1, 2, 3. Doesn't include the integers or the negatives, so we just consider those to be the whole numbers. And then when we add our negatives, we get to the integers. And then beyond that, we have our rational numbers. So here's a song that I found at a conference that I went to. And so go ahead and pause the screen and write the lyrics down. And then yes, we will be singing it. So one of the things that we do with fractions is we change them to decimals. So when the decimal has an end, we call that a terminating decimal. So it has no remainder. It will end in 0. So let's show how that looks like. So the way I read this is 7/20ths, or 7 divided by 20. So in a song, it's a fraction is a division, so you don't have to make a decision. You just take your numerator and divide by your denominator, which is 20. So remember, if I'm looking at this, 20 doesn't go into 7, so I have to add a 0. And whenever I add my decimal, I go ahead and just put my decimal right above it. So 20 goes into 70 3 times, and I'm left with 60 with 10. I add another 0. So now I'm pretending that it's, oh, not sure what happened to that decimal. So 20 goes into 100 5 times. 5 times 20 is 100. And then notice I don't have a remainder. It terminated in 0. So this is what we would call a terminating decimal. Let me just rewrite that. So if it's not a terminating decimal, it's going to be what we call a repeating decimal. And that is just a decimal that has a digit or group of digits that repeat without end. And I'm sure you guys have seen this before, but let's just review how we write it. So going back to our song, which you guys will all memorize. So a fraction is a division, so you don't have to make a decision. You just take your numerator and divide by your denominator. And then sooner or later, you get a repeater or a terminator. So here we're going to look to see what it looks like with a repeater. So again, 11 doesn't go into 5, so I have to add my decimal. 11 goes into 50, we'll say 4 times. Gives me 44. And that gives me 6. I'm going to add another 0. That gives me 5. 5 times 11 is 55. Brings down a 5. Add another 0. Because notice I haven't terminated yet because I'm not at a remainder of 0. 11 goes into 54. And this is going to keep going on. So 44. And I'm going to get 6. And I'm running out of room. So let's say I'll just carry this over here. 50 minus 44 gives me 6. I'm going to bring down another 0. And 11 goes into 55 times. So we can see that we're starting to repeat here. And mathematicians want to be efficient. We're not going to spend our whole day trying to figure out when will this end. So they notice that there's a pattern. So you got your 4, 5, and your 4, 5. So whenever it starts repeating, we can stop. And we put a bar over, we call that bar notation. We put that over there so we don't have to worry about going on, and like, why do you want to spend your whole day just seeing if that's going to ever get to a terminating decimal? So the way I would write this final answer is 5/11 equals, and then I put this bar notation over it. And that tells mathematicians that it's going to be repeating. So it won't be a terminating decimal like this one was up here. I think that's what it was. So the next thing we want to do is writing decimals as fractions. So now we're kind of going back, reverse. So I know it's a singing day, and there's going to be a song that we go with this. I'll bring up the video after this. So it goes say it, write it, simplify it. And so that's really all that you need to remember when you're changing a decimal to a fraction. So I'm going to say it. So here's the decimal that I want to change. So I say it, and I say it with where the place value is. So this is 4/10. So 4/10. So I'm writing it, and then I simplify it. So say it, it's in the tenths place. So 4/10, and then I simplify it. Oh, I can see that there's a 2. I can divide out by 2. Whatever I do to the top, I have to do to the bottom. So I simplify it, and my answer is 2/5. So 0.4, or the proper way we would say that is 4/10 is equal to 2/5. So basically it's changing forms, but they have the same value. So here's an additional example. So if I'm looking at it, I'm going to be looking at the last place. And I know it's going to have the 2 there, so I'm not going to worry about that right now. So this is our tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So this is going to be 358 over 1,000. So I want you to go ahead and simplify that and see what we get. We go to our box. 258 is an even number. 1,000 is an even number. So I'm going to just divide by 2, and we'll just keep going until we can't go anymore. So 358 divided by 2. 2 goes into 1, or 3 one time. That's 1. 2 goes into 15 7 times. 14, 1, 8, 9. So this gives me 179 divided by 500. So it's not an even number, so I know that I can't divide by 2. So if I'm going to look at my dugout, and I have 2, 3, 5, 7, 11. So I can't do 2 anymore. So let me look and see what 3 is. So the trick for seeing if a number is divisible by 3 is you add its digits. So 9 plus 7 is 16. 16 plus 1 is 17. So that's not going to be divisible by 3. And I can't do 5 because that doesn't end in a 0 or 1. Not sure about 7, but let's see what we can do. Seven goes into 17 2 times. So I know it's not going to go in evenly because 7 doesn't go into 39 evenly. So for right now, let's just leave it as 179 over 500. So here's that decimals to fractions song. So if you want to copy this link down, I'll also put a link on my website for it as well. So hopefully that will remind you that you say it,